and the pause was most definitely while the process was going on. We started talking about a pause, I think, back in September last year, before the bids had closed, because we were starting to see the problems building up with, as I've outlined. What we wanted an investigation into was the rationale and the evidence, or the lack of evidence, about why pick 43, why have 43 hub lead organisations, especially when surveyed, the sector said 43% of the sector said 87 hubs, and only 39% said 40 hubs was the figure, and even less said 10 hubs. I think that's what we're talking about investigating. We're talking about what is the quality of education, and how do you increase the quality, how do you make that quality better, how do you get a higher quality education, music education for young people. On the funding point, the funding, as you've heard this morning as well, the funding's not adequate to fulfil the requirements of the national plan. You've had static funding in effect since 2015-16, at a time when inflation has been rife, pupil numbers have gone up. You're talking about around about £9 per pupil, something like that, for the music education hubs. That's that's their funding. And when you compare it with other things, we often compare it with the money invested in sports and PE education, and the sports and PE premium was £320 million just in 2021-22. So the 380 million that has been spent, which I think Arts Council and the DFE quote over a 5-year period of 380 million on music hubs, is kind of dwarfed in 1 year by what's spent. Now, that's not to say that sports and PE shouldn't get that money, but that's just to demonstrate the inadequacy, in our view, of the funding for music hubs.